Hi friends, my name is Emma and let's talk spooky stuff. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna dive into some unpopular opinions, but mostly I want to talk about films that I have turned off. These are for two reasons. There's split into two categories in this video. Unpopular opinions, which is towards the end, those are the ones I think more people will be surprised by. But first, the most disturbing films I've seen, which I have had to turn off at some point because the content is extreme. A lot of people do ask me if I will watch anything and where my line is. I think I've crossed it and this is the video that shows that. But don't leave me hanging, friends. I know a lot of you have walked out of the cinema or turned a film off halfway through. Please let me know what films did that for you, affected you in that way, down below in the comments. I can't wait to read them. I have never walked out of the cinema, but all of these films and a TV show I have stopped watching. Just for fun, let's start with the disturbing ones before I get into my unpopular opinions. So first is a film called Headless, and this is from 2015. This movie is a spin-off, or really a film within a film of the film Found from 2012, which is an incredible low-budget horror movie that I highly recommend you checking out, although it is very disturbing, but it is amazing what they did with the production. So that story is very unique and disturbing, but a character within that film is obsessed with this film called Headless. The film claims to be a lost slasher from 1978 and is about a masked boy who kidnaps and tortures a helpless woman. The blurb on IMDb actually ends with saying, "Will her blonde-haired head end up as the killer's latest trophy?" And I mean, that kind of sums up why I had to turn this film off. I felt like this film was just gore for the sake of being a gore. It is just made to be a film that was in the film. There's not really much else to it. I believe with disturbing films that it's important to have context or, just underlying messages, symbolic themes, anything. And this film, it felt like I was just watching a woman being tortured for the sake of this film existing because it's like lore within the other film. It would have been really cool if they somehow worked like a cool storyline into it, but just like films like The Bunny Game, it just is torture and it's kind of hard to watch. There was no actual storyline. Really, it is just scene after scene of like intense situation. I can't keep repeating my words because of demonetization, which is definitely going to happen in this video, but I highly recommend skipping this one, but do check out the one that it's based on, which is Found. But this one, I just couldn't get through it. It just didn't seem to have a point to it, and so I was kind of wondering why I was putting myself through this nonsense for no reason. It wasn't like I was going to do a review for you guys, and there wasn't much to say about it, so I did what I never do and I turned it off. Okay, the next one is a film I've been asked about maybe the most on my channel that I've never spoken about. It's Salo. I really just can't with this film. Technically, I have watched it all the way through once before, but I really wanted to do a review or just a video about it on my channel, and I still really do. But every time I sit down to try and rewatch this film, I have to turn it off because I can't get through it. It's so hard to get through. I watched it, when I say I watched it once, that was over 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. So yeah, I've sat down, I think maybe even 2 years ago with all of my plans for this video upcoming. I've done a lot of research and I've sat down to watch it again, and I've just shut my computer and decided to walk away and do another video that week. For those who don't know, Salo, or the 120 Days of Sodom, is a film that follows 4 fascist libertines that abuse 9 boys and girls for 120 days. This includes physical, psychological, and sexual torture. The film is broken into chapters, with some of the chapters' titles being Circle of Poop and Circle of Blood. The cinematography of the film, in my opinion, amplifies the terror. There's a lot of wide shots that run for a long time. It feels like they should have been cut, and it is just... it's only 2 hours. Like, it feels so much longer. It feels like a 4-hour film. It's really hard to get through. The film was banned for 17 years in Australia, and acclaimed American film critic and journalist Roger Ebert, he actually had a copy of the film on Laserdisc in his house, but he never actually watched it because he was too scared about the content. And I should say, there have been interviews about the film and the conditions on set. A lot of people said it was really fun. Actors on the film said that they were playing jokes on each other. It was very lighthearted and no one was traumatized or tortured. I guess they had to make that clear. And apparently when some of the actors saw it later, they were completely horrified by the final product because it did not feel like the film they were shooting. And before you get at me for this one, because this film, a lot of people do like it. It's renowned for being a good piece of cinema, or maybe like an important piece of cinema. There's a lot of articles and analysis and breakdowns that have been written, and I have done some research and I have read a lot of them, but it just doesn't work for me. The subtext that they're trying to push, I shouldn't say trying, they are pushing, and some people are receiving. My brain cannot compute when I see these scenes in this film. It just is so intense, and even though it does mean something technically, there is film intent. For me personally, I just couldn't, and you know, I have some very questionable choices with films, but for me, Salo kind of like hits my limit. My brain cannot compute when I see these kinds of images, and it feels very real. I still want to make a video on this film one day. So if you do have any good resources about the context of this film and the filmmaker's intent and breaking down all of the scenes and symbolic messages and the meaning of the film, please leave me some resources down below to read to hopefully change my mind, because right now I just cannot get what I've read out of what I saw. I probably would not recommend this one. But if you thought that was bad, it only gets worse. This next film is perhaps like the most disturbing film I've ever seen. And I had to turn it off. I could not get through it. I realized I was just torturing myself watching this, and it got switched off maybe halfway through. This is 964 Pinocchio. I'd be very interested if some of you have seen this Japanese film. It's also known as Screams of Blasphemy in the UK, and please take a deep breath because I'm gonna have to try and explain this film to you, and it's gonna be quite shocking. And I'm gonna try and explain it in a YouTube friendly way. Good luck to me. The film follows a lobotomized cyborg sex slave who is abandoned on the streets because, let's just say, he was unable to fulfill his owner's needs. Unable to care for himself, he is befriended by a homeless girl, but the corporation who created him wants him to be destroyed. That is the PG version. I might have had to bleep a couple of words. It is terrifying, absolutely terrifying, and it's not very like straightforward. It's very like cyberpunk feel, gritty. Oh my god, I just feel sick thinking about it. It honestly gave me nightmares, or just like really freaked me out for a while. There's lots of drooling and bodily fluids. So if, that kind of stuff grosses you out, it's not just like this extreme subject matter. Like, there's a lot of imagery that goes along with that. And it's very, kind of like Salo, very drawn out. You're very in the moment with this cyborg. And you kind of just have to watch this storyline slowly play out. And it's horrific. And it's actually got an okay score on IMDb. But again, maybe just not for me. Maybe I just didn't get the subtext. But I just don't know why this film exists. That's really harsh to say. But I had to turn it off. I felt like my soul was deteriorating, and I don't have much of that left being a redhead. So maybe don't watch it. Okay, that's the dark ones. Now, the unpopular ones. Again, this is my own opinion. That's fine. You have yours. I have mine. And unfortunately for me, I was not a fan of The Devil's Carnival. I absolutely love Repo the Genetic Opera, but the director Darren Lynn Bousman's The Devil's Carnival from 2012, I just couldn't get on board with. I honestly left the room several times during this film. I just could not get through it, and it only goes for 56 minutes. I just don't understand. I really, again, not for me. The film is rated a 6.3 as well, so it's not a bad scoring film. I've watched things in 3s and 4s before, Birdemic, which I did not turn off. The film is about lost souls who enter the devil's carnival, where they are faced with the sins that they committed during their life. Like Repo, it's a theatrical performance and of course a musical. I have not watched the 2016 film, so please let me know in comparison if you've seen both, if you think the 2016 film might be more of my thing. Again, I did like Repo, but there was just something very cringeworthy about it, that I was very aware of the actors playing their roles. And yeah, obviously I've looked into the film and it was shot in 7 days, so I feel like it was just a rushed, strange production, and sometimes I love that kind of thing. I love strange productions, but I don't love this film. Unfortunately, I wish I did. And if that one hurt you, the next one's gonna be the most. I never finished season 3 of Stranger Things. I literally got to the peak of season 3 of Stranger Things and I turned it off, and it's almost like I forgot about it. I just had no interest in finishing it. And that is a lot for you to invest, hours of your time into a storyline and for it really not to latch onto you enough. And I mean, it's not like I'm some emotionless woman. I watch some commercials and get teary-eyed, but just something about it, I just couldn't get into it, and I just didn't care how it ended. Of course, Stranger Things is a TV show on Netflix about a strange town where in the first season a boy disappears and his friends try and find him. But a strange girl called 11 seems to have all the answers. Sorry, this one's a bit hard to sum up because we're talking about season 3 and there's a lot that happens in the show. I love the characters, I love the kids, I love Winona Ryder. There's a lot to love in Stranger Things, don't get me wrong, but I do love the first season, and I just felt, I don't want to say it went downhill, it just went in a different direction that maybe doesn't suit my taste. And Millie Bobby Brown, I've talked about her before, I think she is an incredible person, but I'm not a big fan of her acting. And I know that's very controversial to say, but that's what this video is. And maybe I just felt like we were just going through the motions with 11, and I really hated the whole kids being in these relationships, especially like the young ones. The older ones, I understood they were teenagers and it made sense with the storyline, but to force like these, relationships on these kids, it felt a bit weird watching. So then they're like getting jealous of each other, and then I feel like we're kind of bordering on Coven territory. I don't know. That's like another unpopular opinion I'll just throw out there, like American Horror Story Coven, where they're both like fighting over the zombie boy. It feels like really wrong to watch like these young girls doing that. It was just sick. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. Just season 3 just wasn't for me. Maybe because the new season, I believe, is coming out soon. I should go back and try and finish it. And maybe I'm totally wrong. But yeah, it just dropped off for me and I had no interest in finishing it, which is very rare. Whew. Now I've got that off my chest, please leave me down below any films you've walked out of the cinema for, because I've never done that before. I'm trying to think if I have. No, I've never done that before. Let me know if you have and why. I would love to know why. Leave all your stories down below. I can't wait to read them. Hopefully it's nothing to do with you being ill or, anyone else in the cinema talking. I want it to be about the film itself, just so I can get into your head since you've been in mine today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you appreciated this video, and thank you so much for supporting me. I had some really great comments on my recent community post, so shout out to you if you commented there. All I can say is thank you for being here, thank you for listening to me, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I have a really great video coming up in a couple of days where I interview some filmmakers, so I can't wait to see you then. It's a really, really cool production that I can't wait to talk to you guys about, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.